look in your program, actually there were only 3 dealers that were up here. We have 3 independents, and I took the NADA chairman, Stephen Wade, so he's going to join us up here. These questions are not generic. Well, they are generic. They're not just for independent dealers. I think franchise dealers, anyone that's selling used cars and utilizing the auctions out there, this would kind of apply. To start off down here, everyone, of course, knows Stephen. He was just up here a few minutes ago. Down on the end, Chris Martin. He is a dealer from North Carolina. He is Senior Vice President at NIADA. Anthony Underwood from Alabama. He is the current NIADA President. And down here, Don Fincher from Houston, Texas. He is President-elect. So we'll get started. And Don, I'm going to throw this first question to you. How have wholesale prices and the short supply of vehicles affected your business?
Well, obviously, Mike, it has affected our business somewhat. We find that we do a lot more traveling to other cities all over Texas in most cases to find the kind of vehicles that we're looking for. It's just not as easy as it was back in the 70s and 80s when you had wholesalers coming up to you and trying to sell you everything. Now you very seldom ever even see a wholesaler any longer. But so we travel to the auctions in different larger cities in Texas, and we do a lot more of that now. So I have 2 or 3 guys out because some of the auctions are on the same days. So we have to get out to the different places, and we just send one person to each place and hoping they'll get as many cars as they can to help us keep going.
Good. Anthony, how about you?
I think it's changed our the dynamics and paradigm on how we look at a car. It's definitely a commodity that we cherish. Back in the days, we said, well, you really must love that car because you're asking a certain price for it. But now I'm getting my son involved in going to the auction to give an appreciation of what we're paying for these cars and what I have to do every day when I go to the auction in order to attain the cars. So if we sell a car and we made, say, a $500 profit on the car, I think there's a lot of hard work to go through to be able to make a slim margin of profit. So now that he sees what it takes to buy a car, he sees that obviously the car's not as plentiful as it used to be, say, 3 or 4 years ago. So now he has great respect when he's dealing with a customer to hold on to the profit margin and to make sure the term say give the car away, but make sure that the car, we know it cannot be replaced. It's just always been a fantasy of the car business. You can always replace that car. Now we're realizing in the last year or so that it's not as easy to replace that car, and surely chances are you're going to pay more for the car if you get it. So that's been the really awakening that now that there's no prediction of what the car would sell for on next week.
Okay. Stephen, from the franchise side of things, of course, you're in the used car business also. What are you seeing at your dealerships?
Well, I just heard the comment, a paradigm shift. It's been a shift for us. I'm in a little market just 2 hours north of here, and historically for years we just lived off of new cars. That's where we did the most of our volume, and we sold a small number comparatively of used, and we have really had to reach down and change that demographic. And of all of the things we all know how difficult cars are to obtain, and we look at cars differently now. We think the easiest car for us to get is the one that's on trade-in, and it's oftentimes the best. And so we've had to look at those differently. We've really had to get involved and look at our time. We were very, very strict. We got very strict with the turn. We got down to a 35-day turn on everything, and everything used. And we're doing very well with that. Now we're having to modify that a little bit because of trying to find the product. But it's interesting. The old adage, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You have to put the emphasis where you have to. I remember years ago I was a Mazda dealer in Salt Lake City, or I cut my teeth in the 70s, young man, and I had a number 6 in size volume Mazda dealership in the country. We sold 80-some units a month, and Mazda got in trouble, and we went to a low of 8. That was our high. and I had to get religion real fast. And we got in the used car business, and I just used that example again, and we just decided with this downturn to really get in the business. And we started to take the used cars, and here we are, a new car dealer, and we said, we got to give this the same attention as it would if we went out and were granted a new franchise. And when we put that kind of emphasis on it, it made a big difference.
Sure. Chris, Stephen mentioned trade-ins and so forth. What about vehicles that normally you would purchase that would be front-line ready? How about units that need repairs? Are you finding yourself having to deal with those?
We're finding a lot more of those in frontline ready units. That's one thing that we've seen a huge change in the last several years is we just don't seem to buy a vehicle anymore that we don't have to recondition in some form or fashion. And I think we spend our average is somewhere around $800–900 as far as reconditioning cars, and that's one of the things that we actually look at now to try to get inventory is trying to buy cars that do need a little bit of reconditioning and maybe some other people overlook.
Don, I'm sure probably same things going on at your dealership. Anything innovative that you're doing that?
Yes, we actually began buying more cars that needed to be reconditioned. A few years ago, we just stopped buying. We only bought cars that were just pretty much ready to go. That really, because when you bring them back to the dealership, all you got to do is maybe clean them up, vacuum, wash and wax, and put them on the front line. It doesn't take any time. You immediately got those cars to retail, and we felt like that it was important not to spend that week or 2 weeks getting the car ready because the money got so tight with banks and floor plans that we were turning the inventory over, we were trying to turn it over faster. But in this market that we're in today, we found that you just have to spend more money on reconditioning. We buy cars that need a little repair. We'll even buy cars out of the lanes that it maybe shows frame. Because and those of you that are with the auctions, a lot of these cars that they say frame on, they really don't have frame. It's just, it may have a scratch on the frame and they still make it frame. So if you really know what you're looking for and you know how to look at the car, some of those cars you can buy way back and then spend a little bit of money and that little week or 2 weeks takes to get them ready is not as big of a deal. But we certainly do that. We buy the cars to be fixed, and then we bring them in and fix them now, and it's working really, making a lot of money doing that too, by the way.
Anthony, with the reconditioning cost and so forth, is that really affecting your buying decisions at the auctions and certainly on post-sale inspections?
It's definitely affecting our buying decision, but actually almost the opposite of what Don mentioned there. We're trying to we're spending more money for a cleaner car. I'm not as optimistic as far as what it takes to get the car ready. I think that we're paying now clean book for rough cars, and we're paying extra clean for average cars and clean cars. So I think it's just better off just go ahead and just pay the better money to get a clean car now, I guess, which was probably been an average car yesterday, but just step up and pay a little bit more money and get a cleaner car. And I know that when it comes to detailing the car, we always get a bigger surprise as far as the time it takes to get it ready and as well as the cost to get it done. One thing about used car dealers, we're so optimistic. I know guys, I never buy frame cars, and I've been tempted to, but I just have no false illusion. I know that eventually the problem is going to come back up. And so I'm still avoiding frame cars, which means I'm still paying more. I guess I'm thinking about buying new cars now and put them on the used car lot. It's just as cheap to buy new cars now, in my opinion. It's crazy. I think that we're trying to be sober as far as what the economy is doing and what the market is doing. And that's the thing, that everybody is so optimistic. And they feel like they pay a little bit more for the car or pay whatever it takes to get the car back on the lot and be able to sell it and make a profit on it. And we're just being very careful what we're spending on cars. So we're buying less cars, and we're trying to scrutinize the cars that we got by. As well as my son is going on the internet and looking at the condition report on these cars that before we go to the auction. So we already have a clear mind of what we're trying to buy and what the condition of the cars are. So when I get there, I'm working from a list now. I'm not just buying cars because it's a good deal or because I get emotional about it. So this is a total different training from what I've been doing over the past 15 years. I'm like a kid now. I'm going by a list that my mother gave me to buy the cars with, and if I can't buy them that price, I let them be, and if I can get it within a price range, then I try to buy those cars.
Yeah, Anthony, stay away from those cars, those frame cars. They're no good. Yeah, just stay away from those.
Well, no, the problem with the frame car, I think there's an ad in the book now. It's like a $1,000 ad for frame damage now. It seemed to be. I can't figure that out. You know, it's amazing.
Stephen, you mentioned inventory turn a while ago. What different techniques, aids, or what are you doing at your dealerships in order to affect the inventory turn a little quicker?
Well, as I said, we've started looking at things a little bit different. I mean, going back to try to put these two questions together, the one prior to that, in our new car operation, if we had a trade-in come in and it had damage on it and needed to go to the body shop, we just wholesaled that car. But that's not the case anymore. We're happy to have the business in our body shop. And I would say to people, if they have the ability to have reconditioning in their premises, they really need to do that. They need to bill it back to that car at retail and pass it on to consumer, because in the new car operation, absorption is the name of the game. And today, that's more important than ever. I just bought a dealership in California, and I bought it primarily because it was 85% absorption. Well, everybody knows what that means to your bottom line. So if you're going to do that, I'd advise you to do it and make a profit on it in that center and let it pass forward, because it'll do it. And most people sell these cars from, unfortunately, most of our people sell cars from cost up instead of where it should be. Now, occasionally you got people that don't do that, but that's rare. We tried to be very proactive at starting with a 60-day turn, and then we went to a 45, and we got to a 35-day turn, and we were religious about it. I mean, we worked at it. And if a car was a nice car out there, but it had been there 35 days, it went. Well, we don't do that as much anymore. I mean, it got to the point where it was foolish to go wholesale it and then turn around and buy one just like it and pay more money. So we've had to look at that differently. I still believe that the tight turn is the wise thing to do, but we're in an interesting market right now. We've got to work with that market, and it seems like prices are going to hold, although you can still get hurt. And one of the things that we've done too is with these cars is when we take them into inventory, and I don't know if any of you do this, but it's been one of the nicest things that we have done, is we take and put, I think it's roughly $200 on a car when it comes in, and that goes against a write-down account. And that's a wise thing. And that we don't, so if a car comes in, we put $200 to $400 on, depending on if it's new, or I think it's depending on how old it is. But that sits in an account, and at the end of the month, we wash it if we need to against wholesale loss. And some months we'll have a $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 that we won't have to wash, and then we can take that into profit. Right. So that's another thing that's a different way of looking at it.
Exactly.